Welcome back in, Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you for a couple more minutes here before Wes and Chris jump in with me for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. We'll get an update of what they were able to see out at practice this morning ahead of tomorrow's first scrimmage. Do want to remind you that our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia coming up at the end of the month, August 23rd, the day before week 0. That'll be on a Friday. If you want to take part in it, you can sign your foursome up by giving Charwood a call at 803-755-2000. Again, 803-755-2000 to register. We hope to see a lot of you out there with our Summer Golf Classic, again, at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. I asked the question after we read the list of, or some of the guys that were on Brad Crawford's 10 most hated college football players of all time. Who's your most hated college football player? Who did you not be able to stand watching play for whatever reason on a college football Saturday? Mike weighs in and says, Cam Newton, because he kicked our butt and is still super annoying. That's a good point. 2010 season, 2 losses to Cam Newton, including the rough game in the SEC championship game that, again, that was, I think he's the best player in college football history because of that season, because he put that offense on his back and did amazing things without a lot of talent around him necessarily, but easy to dislike because of his cockiness, the dancing, all that kind of stuff that translated over to the NFL. I mean, that Super Bowl run year with Carolina in 2015, I mean, Cam Newton was as cocky as we had ever seen him. And again, rightfully so, he's backing it up on the field. He's going out there and making plays, scoring touchdowns, winning games. Like, I get it, but it does rub people the wrong way. And even in today, as he's no longer playing football, some of his media stuff, he's still that same, that's just his personality, right? He's that same person always, and that's never, ever going to change. So if you don't like Cam Newton now, I don't think you're ever going to end up liking him. Again, nameless texter weighing in here saying Ben Boulware, who of course played at Clemson, with a quote that I'm not going to say on the radio, but I think people are pretty familiar with it. That's pretty funny actually. But the Clemson aspect of this is interesting because it's so easy to hate rivals because of just you're naturally born to hate them, right? And some rivals, some guys on those teams do give you the ammo, like Ben Boulware, to hate them even more. But some guys are just so good, you just have to hate them because of that. And I imagine there are probably some of you out there that really hate Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, Trevor Lawrence was not arrogant. He was not cocky. He went about his business in college as well as in the NFL up to this point, and he wasn't like brash about it or anything like that. But he's such a good player, right? And we knew coming out of high school he was a good player. And to see him on the other side playing for Clemson with the paw print on his helmet, I know had to drive a lot of people here crazy, right? And going up against him, it's like, oh my God, here goes, Bill to be the next Peyton Manning. Like, you hate him because of that, because he is so good. And he kind of falls into that rare category of being good but not being cocky about it that makes you hate him. Like, at least give me more ammo to justify the hate other than just being good. So again, I imagine a lot of you would probably quantify Trevor Lawrence as being up there on your most hated list, as well as, Deshaun Watson, maybe Taj Boyd, Hunter Renfrow, a lot of great players that Clemson's had over the years by just being a part of that rivalry. Another nameless texter, Steven weighs in, says Cam as well, which again goes back to the losses of the 2010 season. And look, everybody lost to Cam Newton, right? I mean, that comeback that he had against Alabama, the Georgia game where they had the comeback, everybody lost to Cam Newton that year. They won the BCS national championship, and then the Auburn program kind of fell apart after that for a couple seasons. But the cockiness off the field, or on and off the field, certainly leads to a lot of that. Let's see here. I got some more coming in here. Going back to another guy that was on the list, Brian Bosworth, nameless texter from Texas, funny enough, weighs in and says, Bosworth, because he epitomized the arrogance that is Oklahoma. Granted, I'm a Texas fan, but the cockiness was absurd. Again, there you go. There goes back to the rivalry aspect of it, where there's a guy on the other side if you're a Texas fan, that you already hate because he's wearing the crimson and cream of Oklahoma, and then he's very brash and arrogant about it. And again, backed it up. Great player. I mean, out there making plays left and right. But I think we all desire a humbleness, right, with great players. Like, go out there and be great, but be humble about it. And that was not Brian Bosworth's MO. He was in your face. He was loud. He was colorful on and off the field. And it's funny how we look back on him now because, and he does the Dr. Pepper Fansville commercials with the sheriffs and all that kind of stuff where he's got more of kind of a lovable personality that I think people gravitate to a little bit more. And again, I wasn't alive to see this, but I'm just going off what I've read and watched and heard over the years. Like, outside of Norman, Oklahoma, I feel like most people around the country probably hated his guts because of how he carried himself and how he presented himself when he was one of the star players of college football. So again, this is always a great discussion. Appreciate you guys weighing in on the Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100 about who your most hated college football player was. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. What's going on in practice as camp rolls on? We'll get Wes and Chris's reports coming up next here on The Game.